Welcome everyone, and welcome to the next EI Live event for Aberdeen Highlands and Islands branch. This event is focused on membership and continued professional development. We are delighted to have you all with us tonight. My name is Yvonne, and I will be hosting this event alongside my colleague Angela on behalf of Energy Institute. Like I said previously, my name is Yvonne. My background is in corrosion and integrity management. I have over 15 years work experience. I became a chartered engineer with Energy Institute in 2016, and I have been one of the membership and education advisors for Aberdeen Highlands and Islands since 2020. So on behalf of the branch committee, I wanted to advise of a few things before we get going. Our events are now online, but we look forward to seeing you face to face in the very near future when it's safe to do so. Our forthcoming events have been announced, so keep an eye on the events calendar for updates. Sadly, we have also taken the decision to postpone our annual dinner until Thursday, 12th of May, 2022. We have a few tables left, so get in touch with us if you want to be involved. Some of the proceeds from the dinner will be going to the Amazing Pound for Piper Trust. As ever, we want to thank our partners, Bilfinger Salamis and Imran, for supporting our activities. So let's get moving. Do remember to post your questions and comments in the chat box, and we will pick these up after the presentations. We want to keep this event very informal, so feel free to keep your cameras on, but please keep it muted. And keep your hands up or put up your hands if you want to ask any questions. So I will introduce Zubin. Zubin Jehangir is a chartered petroleum engineer with over 9 years work experience. He works for Harbour Energy. He is a Senior Reservoir Engineer. He received his chartership through Energy Institute in 2018. And he supports in the assessments for chartership as well. So I give you Zubin.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to just try and share my screen now. Hopefully that works. Right, let me know if that has come through. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Perfect. So I'm just going to give, like I said, it's just a couple of slides, and I'll keep it quite informal. I'm just going to talk about initially my background and the reasons why I pursued chartership. And then I'll just go and talk about the actual process I went through of gaining chartership and what some of the benefits I've actually gained from actually doing it. So as everyone's already mentioned, my sort of brief broader background, I'm an engineer by background. I have an undergraduate in aeronautical engineering. And then straight afterwards, I did a master's in petroleum engineering. So I graduated at the back end of 2012. I have about 9 years of experience. I currently work as a reservoir engineer at Harbour Energy. I've had several roles working predominantly in an upstream oil and gas operator, working on development wells, exploration wells, going offshore to start wells up, working in the production performance team. So kind of a real mix of very short-term project work and also long-term project work. So as part of being a reservoir engineer or a petroleum engineer, I work quite closely within the subsurface domain. So I work together with geologists, geophysicists, production engineers, drilling engineers. As it generally stands within the subsurface domain, there is no real requirement to actually get chartered. So this is amongst the geologists, the geophysicists, and the reservoir engineer. And nor is it really an industry requirement. When you compare that to the other engineering disciplines within the energy industry, that's quite different. So for example, if you're a mechanical, electrical process engineer, chartership is one of those things that you do really look forward to after you've graduated university. It's one of those things that you do try and attempt to. So within the subsurface domain, it's not necessarily been a big push to do that. But one of the reasons why I wanted to be chartered is that I wanted to have a recognized professional qualification. So I'll talk a few reasons why I wanted to do it. One of the things that I really wanted to highlight was to actually have a professional qualification after I left university. You know, they say that you're always learning, and to have this sort of official professional qualification afterwards shows that you're continuing to develop as a professional. It shows that you're meeting a certain requirement and that you're working at a certain requirement and competency. So those are one of the reasons why I wanted to go and try and pursue chartership. And it really does show that you're continuing to develop in your career, that you are trying to develop as a professional, not only in the technical side of things, which you could do on a day-to-day point of view, but on various other assessments, whether it's on your commercial side, it's working to standards, it's working in terms of ethical, safety, environment considerations. These are all the sort of things that you'd be looking at trying to show that professional development. Now, this is a side note in terms of getting chartered. In this country, within the subsurface domain as a reservoir engineer, like I said, there's no requirement to be chartered to sign off your own technical work. However, there are other jurisdictions, for example, in Australia, where you cannot actually sign off your technical work without being chartered. So that it is quite important in other countries. Now, in other disciplines, and other engineering disciplines, it is also actually quite important. But the one reason in reservoir engineering there isn't a big push in it within this country. But if you do move other countries, it actually becomes quite important. I'm starting to see a change in that, where there's a lot more of my subsurface colleagues are pushing to get chartered because they're starting to see the benefits of it. Whereas the previous few decades, it's maybe not been a big push and requirement to do it. And one of the other reasons why I wanted to pursue the chartership is actually to have exposure to a technical community that is out within my own focus area. You know, if I was being really focused on being a petroleum engineer, I would have really pursued chartership perhaps with the SPE or the Society of Petroleum Engineers. And that would have been a very great route to go down. But the reason why I actually chose to go through it in the Energy Institute is to get that broader exposure to the different elements of the energy industry, whether it's the upstream, it's the downstream, it's the energy transition, or it's actually oil and gas as well. So to have that broad spectrum is one of the reasons why I went through and tried to get chartered. So I'll just talk about the actual process that I went through. It wasn't as just clear cut as putting an application in and I got it. I do have a bit of a story associated with it. So I first tried to apply and send my first application in May 2016. At the time, I had just over 4 years of experience. As a general rule of thumb, there's a recommendation that you should only be looking to become or apply to become chartered when after you've had a minimum 4 to 5 years experience. It's not to say that you can't do it earlier, but generally speaking, you don't quite have built enough experience to try and meet all the competencies required to become professional. Every individual is different. Sometimes people take longer because of the type of job they have to try and show the experiences to meet those competencies. So it's not necessarily just a rule of it has to be at this year you can definitely apply it, this year you can't. Every individual is different, but it's really how you show your current work experience and how that meets the competency. So at that time, I actually wasn't successful. And I'll just give a very quick overview of what the process actually is. So when you want to try and apply to become a chartered or get a professional qualification with the Energy Institute, you supply an application form, and this application form has references from people, either your manager or somebody else who's chartered who knows you, and it has the PDR or the professional development review. This PDR is effectively an extended CV that goes to talk about what your work experiences has previously. The other two important parts are the competency grids themselves for being a member, and also being, for my case, was being an engineer. And so those are the main parts that form the application process. And then it goes to an assessment. The assessors make a recommendation to the member panel. The member panel then makes a decision whether or not they feel the candidate can progress to the next stage, or at that point will be requested maybe you should apply after a few more years experience. If you do get to the next stage, it's an interview, again, through a number of assessors. And then again, a recommendation is made to the member panel. And then you can find out whether you're successful or not. So at this stage, when I first applied, I was told you are on the right track, but you need to be focused on certain areas that we feel that you need further development. So it wasn't like just a case of a yes or a no. They actually gave quite good constructive feedback in the specific areas that I needed to work in. So I'll just draw on what where I was lacking in experience and where I need further development. What the panel felt that is I needed to go back and really get back into doing more engineering focused detailed work, where I was showing my solutions to problems, analyzing various issues, coming up with more technical justifications. I had been doing that before, but I just needed more examples of doing it. The other area that I needed to develop was technical and commercial leadership. So that's about mentoring junior staff, being in charge of budgets. And the other thing that they recommended I look at is how I keep how I do my day-to-day work in regards to working to a professional standard, considering the safety and environmental concerns, and also just working to a standard ethic code of conduct as well. So what I actually ended up doing is I took that feedback from the panel and then essentially sat down with my manager and said, look, I need to keep developing within these areas. A professional committee has said that these are the areas where I need further development and work. And so what I did was, together with our manager, we built a work program and an assignment list to really help focus on these areas. So for me, actually, even though I didn't make it the first time, it was actually a really useful process where it actually helped me focus on the areas where I needed to keep developing as a professional, not just as a chartered engineer, but just generally as a professional working within the Energy Institute. So on the back of that, I targeted those areas, tried to build the experience up where I felt like where the panel felt I needed further development. I reapplied at the back end of 2017, just at the end of 2017. I managed to get the interview stage, and I was successful in getting chartership. I got it, I think in May 2018, I found out I was successful. So generally, the whole process was actually, even though I didn't make it the first time, the whole process was actually really useful for me as a learning tool. And actually, even day to day today, I still try and figure out, okay, what are the certain areas within the engineering competency grid I haven't maybe done in a while or haven't looked at. And sometimes I'll try and refocus my work in those areas to make sure that I'm keeping on top of my professional development. So really, what are the benefits I've had from becoming chartered? So I think I've already mentioned the fact that it's helped me focus where I needed development and further work. But I need to reiterate to that again, because the process of going through that's one of the big things that we gain from it, of trying to develop in those areas, and actually having someone say, well, you should focus your efforts in these areas to keep developing. The membership itself, like I said, is one of the reasons why I joined, was trying to get that wider exposure to the energy community, and really having the exposure to other areas or topics that I might not necessarily get within my company, because we're focused in a certain area. So one of the big things that it's been great is just been getting that greater exposure to the energy industry as itself. So Yvonne mentioned that I'm actually also volunteering and doing assessments. So I think because I got so much from the process of going through assessments, a year after I got chartership, I put my hand up saying, hey, I would love to actually help support doing the assessments for it. So in 2019, I went through an assessment process, and then I started doing the paper applications that initially get submitted and doing assessments in that with fellow assessors. And then in 2020 and 21, I've also been doing the interviews as well. And actually, to be fair, those interviews have been really great, because even though it is an interview to discern whether or not an applicant is going to become chartered or has the required competencies, I've had really amazing, interesting conversations with colleagues all around the world, from the Middle East to Africa, South America to Australia. I mean, doing these interviews virtually has allowed me to have actual conversations with people on the other side of the world and actually build my network as well. So I don't think if I wasn't part of the Energy Institute, I don't think I would have had exposure to these other people and having great conversations with other engineers and other people who are working in different disciplines. So that's me. A very quick summary of my my process of getting chartered. You know, what I've learned from actually going through it and what I've gained from it as well. And I'm happy to take questions in terms of the process, what I found good or bad, you know, anything in regards to the actual process of applying and what you need to look for. So happy to take any sort of questions associated with that.
Thank you, Zubin, for the fantastic presentation. You know, it was very informative. I found it very informative, you know, you having to go through the process again and the things that you've learned and, you know, sharing your lessons with all the participants here. My question is, you know, you've mentioned that you chose to go chartered with Energy Institute because you want to get exposure to other areas of the oil and gas industry. How has EI provided that?
So I think one of the big things has been there's been a lot of publications, but it's been a lot more detail about the energy transition. Obviously, the Energy Institute has been a big push associated with it. It's not that other professional bodies haven't. It's just that the exposure the Energy Institute tends to get and the speakers that they have, for example, an IP week or the various other talks, it generally tends to get some really high up people who give a really great breadth of conversations to that. And it's not just, you know, I like the fact that EI provides not just the more broader scale picture of how the energy industry is developing, but it also has that technical side as well. So if you wanted to dig more technical detail about carbon capture and storage, or how to operate wind farms and, you know, wind turbines and things like that, it does provide both. So I think over the past year and a half, 2 years, I've started to really notice that ramp up and in that leading the way to the energy transition. But also, interestingly, is how people in the current, you know, the oil and gas sector, how their skills could be transferred into this energy transition process. So there's been a lot of good stuff coming out recently in that regards.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I agree with you. If you were to do this process again, not that you would want to, what would you do differently? You know, if you're advising someone that is just about to start his or her own chartership process, what do you wish somebody told you before you started?
I think when I first did it, I very much did it in isolation. You know, what I did is I didn't really talk to other chartered engineers. You know, I looked at the requirements and wrote the application form. I had, you know, my managers, you know, check it in terms of language and things, but I didn't really talk to other engineers or chartered engineers, not just in the energy industry, but generally. And I think that was a mistake on my part, because if I'd actually talked to someone who had been through the process, whether it was through EI or other bodies, and they've read my review, I think they would have come to the same conclusions that the panel had. I think, I was showing examples of meeting various criteria, but maybe not as much as I should have done, and in certain areas. So I think when I did get pushed back the first time, I did actually have great conversations with other chartered engineers saying, look, you've been through the process, you're the same discipline as me. I've been told I need to work on these areas, X, Y, and Z. How do I go develop it? And that, together with my manager, really helped focus on, you should try and do this, you should try and do that. So don't just try and go in blind. Try and find someone in the community who can help you and give you some support before you go through the process, because honestly, it would have made a massive difference if I'd done that before, really.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Rona has her hand up. Do you want to ask a question, Rona?
Yes, please. It's not actually Rona. I'm on my wife's tablet.
Okay.
So I've not got my camera on because my background's a bit of a mess. But no. I did have a question, if that was okay.
Yes.
First of all, Zubin, thank you very much for your talk there. Echo that, it was really informative. My question really centres around, I guess, what advice you would give to someone who has kind of been away from their core technical discipline for quite a while. So I started life as a structural engineer, and I did make an attempt to get chartered, and I was unsuccessful as well. It was the same as yourself. I did it quite early, and I think I was just a wee bit too early to the party. But then subsequently kind of got busy, had kids. Years have gone by, only really just coming up for air, and I've actually been quite a long time away from the technical discipline now. I've been in project management roles for quite a long time, and laterally more even sort of managerial. So I'm just a long way away from my technical discipline of apples falling kind of far from the tree. And I'm interested in Energy Institute, I guess, because exactly what you said about it being sort of more of a broad church coalition. But is it possible for someone like me to get chartered, CEng, given that I've kind of moved away so far from my origins?
Yeah. No, a totally fair question. And to be honest, we get applicants when I'm doing the assessment who exactly the same process we do, as maybe in the sort of 0 to 5 years might have been doing the core technical stuff and then moved on to more managerial roles and done that. Now, if you actually read the competency grid with being a CEng, you'll notice that the technical part isn't just the whole thing. It's actually just associated with one of the B competency, really. There's a lot of other things like the C, which is related to management, effective project implementation, how you write proposals, how you present, how you keep up to date with new technologies. There's actually 4 of the 5 competencies is not really focused on doing mathematics or physics and things like that. So it's not a problem at all, because actually you need to show you've done all the other things, not just be an engineer day in and day out, because that's not enough to become chartered. You actually have to show all the sort of things that you were mentioning about. Maybe you mentor junior staff, you chair meetings where with number of vendors, etc. All that's what you actually need to become chartered. It's not just about doing the numbers. And if you've done that earlier in your career and you've shown you've done that, well, you have met that competency. You haven't done it recently, that doesn't matter. But it's about how you show that you have met those or have worked at that level throughout your career. It's not the case that you're going to be doing all those things every time right now, in that sense where you're trying to touch every single competency on a day-to-day basis. No one can do that. So I definitely recommend if you go look at the website, look at the CEng competency grid, and it's very neatly laid out. A1, A2, B1, B2, these are the things. And you'll start to realize is that, well, actually I do that in my day-to-day job. I do that. okay, I haven't done that recently, but I have got quite a few examples associated with it. So I really feel, don't feel that should put you off. We see lots of candidates who move to the managerial part and haven't done technical things in a while, but obviously they're still working at a level required to be a chartered engineer. So I hope that answers your question.
And it's certainly quite encouraging. So thank you very much, and for the comprehensive response. So, cheers.
Yeah, thank you, Zubin. You answered the question really, really well. And we have Terry. Terry Winter is the Membership Development Manager at Energy Institute. A key part of his role is to advise people about EI membership. And I'm sure Terry is going to sort of like give us more information, give more detail to what Zubin has just said. So Terry is going to tell us about the different grades available, the benefits of joining EI, the application process for professional membership and chartered registration. So I give you Terry.
Thank you, Yvonne. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to share my slides quickly before I begin. Okay. Can you see those slides okay?
It's thinking about it.
Can't see anything there at the moment, no. There we go.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I can see that.
It froze for a moment, getting a bit worried. So yeah, just to reintroduce myself. So my name's Terry. I'm the Membership Development Manager at the EI. And I'm just going to talk to you for about 10 minutes, just a very short talk, just to reinforce really what Zubin was saying about the true value of getting chartered status, and to talk more generally about the benefits of joining the EI and the benefits of seeking professional recognition with us. So you might still be a little unsure. You might be thinking, why bother? What's in it for me? Well, there are a number of genuinely positive reasons to apply for professional recognition. So first of all, as Zubin was saying, it can help you to advance your career. It shows employers that you have the knowledge, the competence, and the work ethic that they value and that they are looking for. Now, it's quite a robust peer review process, and employers know that, and they'll be impressed by that. And they'll know that you are being assessed by established, experienced professionals working in energy. It's very much, it's like a recognized external validation. It can also help you to stand out in what is quite a competitive industry. It could be the difference between you and a number of other candidates who are perhaps going for the same job. You are all brilliant in your own ways, but only one of you is a professional member, or only one of you is chartered, and that can actually get you over the line. And it's not all about money. It's more about excelling as an individual and your own personal development. But it is a fact. It's a fact that some employers will pay you more if you are professionally registered, or they might offer a financial incentive for you doing so, for you going out, applying and gaining that professional recognition. It can also give you greater influence within industry. So that word there, credibility, that comes up time and time again when we talk to our professional members, because it can enhance your credibility, it can enhance your profile with peers and clients within the sector. Our professional grades and chartered titles are not just recognised in the UK, they are recognised worldwide. so they do carry considerable prestige. And as I'll go on to in a moment or two, we are able to offer 3 exclusive chartered titles that you can't get anywhere else. It could also mean that some doors open that were locked before. You might get some new opportunities. You might be given more responsibility in your role as a result of getting chartered. And lastly, it is a true mark of your commitment to professionalism and best practice in energy, which is, they're both so important in today's industry. It's very much a rubber stamp on your energy credentials. It's formal recognition of your knowledge and your skills and the achievements that you've made in the energy sector in your career. But don't just take it from us. Read about what some of our other professional members are saying. You've already heard from Zubin today. We've got many other testimonials from our professional members. If you go to the membership page of our website, scroll down about halfway, you'll see a carousel of member testimonials. So click on those and you can read what our members are saying about their career journey, why they applied with the EI in the first place, and how professional membership or chartership has benefited them in their careers. Please do take a look at that. If you're not yet a member with us, then join. In fact, it is the first mandatory step that you need to take if you are interested in professional membership and registration. That first step that you need to take is to join as an associate member, or AMEI, which you can see in the middle. And that grades for those who want to progress, they want to develop their careers in energy, and they want to get professionally qualified. Our other 2 introductory grades of membership are student, for those who are studying or on an apprenticeship, and affiliate membership, which is mainly for those who just have a general interest in energy and would like to be kept up to date. For all 3 of these, you can join online via our website. It will only take you a few minutes. There's no assessment involved, and it will give you immediate access to our benefits and resources. Once you're in, or you might already be a member, there are various ways in which we can support you with your journey to professional membership. So first of all, you can sign up for EI Connect, which is our new-ish mentoring platform, which we launched in March this year. It's open to mentors and mentees, and it's exclusively for professional members of the EI and associate members of the EI. So if, for example, you want to give back to industry, you want to share your own knowledge, you want to help others, you could sign up as a mentor. Or if you want to learn new skills, or you want to build your knowledge on a particular area of the energy system, then you could sign up as a mentee. But actually, one of the most common reasons that people sign up as a mentee is that they are working towards professional membership and registration, and they want help from a mentor that has been through that process. Okay, that's a really, really good reason to sign up for EI Connect. You could also sign up for My Career Path, which is our online CPD tool. It's good for planning and recording and tracking your CPD. What's best about My Career Path is that it's actually structured against the specific competencies that we're looking for. Zubin started talking about those competencies that you need to demonstrate when you apply. Well, My Career Path is structured against those competencies. So you can map your training, your CPD activities against those competencies. And then when you come to apply, you've essentially made a massive head start on your application. You can also sign up for a training course to develop your knowledge. We run lots of different training courses in areas such as energy management, energy efficiency, oil and gas, human factors, and more. And obviously getting a training qualification is great for your CV, and it's great for your CPD. And it's so important to keep up to date with what's going on in industry, to stay switched on, if you like. And you can do that by reading our monthly magazines, Energy World and Petroleum Review, both available fully online via our knowledge website, but you can only access the full content of the magazines if you are an EI member. In terms of our professional grades and registrations, and I won't go into too much detail here because I need a lot more time, but we have 3 professional grades. They are our professional grades, a fellow member and technician member. But we're also licensed by the Engineering Council to award Chartered Engineer, Incorporated Engineer, and Engineering Technician registration. And similarly, we're licensed by the Society for the Environment to award Chartered Environmentalist registration. And as I alluded to earlier, we have 3 exclusive chartered titles: Chartered Energy Engineer, Chartered Petroleum Engineer, and Chartered Energy Manager. So you can't get those with any other professional body. I won't go into process, but just a couple of important points to remember. You can apply for one of our professional grades on their own. So you could apply just for member or just for fellow, and that is a form of professional recognition. But if you're interested in one of our additional registrations, let's say Incorporated Engineer or Chartered Energy Manager, then you can't apply for those on their own. You need to apply for those together with a professional grade of membership. Chartered Energy Engineer and Chartered Petroleum Engineer must be applied for in conjunction with or together with Chartered Engineer or CEng. Just a couple of important points to note. For all of these titles, you need to put together a written application of some kind, and that's formally assessed or reviewed. To get started, again, go to the membership page of our website, click on the title you are interested in, and download an application pack for that title, and that application pack contains everything you'll need. If you need help, if you have any questions at any time, there are several channels of support that you can use. So first of all, talk to our membership and education advisors in the region, and they are Yvonne and Angela, who are on the meeting today, and you can email them at that address there, aberdeenmea@energyints.org. And they are there to provide dedicated support at a local level on all things membership and professional development related. Seek advice from your mentor if you are signed up to EI Connect, or your sponsor. So in almost all cases with professional membership applications, you'll need 1 or 2 sponsor references. And part of their role is to vouch for you, is to read through your application, and to make sure that you're working at the level required, that you're demonstrating the standards that are required. So talk to your sponsors. Watch the latest membership webinar, which I delivered, and it's on the EI's YouTube channel. And study the guidance notes in the application pack, which are really comprehensive. Make sure you read the guidance notes before you start writing up your application. And if you ever need, talk to us at head office, send us an email or give us a call, and we would be happy to help. And that's it from me, just a snapshot, if you like.
Thank you, Terry. That was a fantastic presentation. So EI, is here to help anyone that wants to be a member. I think the EI Connect is a fantastic tool, and if I were to do it all over again, I would definitely sign up, because you get assigned a mentor that will help you with the application process. So thank you, Terry. I'll also like to introduce Angela. Angela is a colleague of mine. We both work as membership and chartership advisors for EI. Angela is a Chartered Energy Manager. Angela, are you here?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, everyone. Apologies that I don't have a video camera on, and I have to say I'm sitting in a car overlooking the east sands of St Andrews. So it's a lovely place to be tonight. It's weather, it's dry and all looking nice. To just follow on with what my colleagues have said, the Energy Institute have a number of chartership status professional categories, And in Aberdeen, Highlands and Islands, we have experience in most areas. We have heard today of some of the technical charterships, with my own area being one of the new exclusive titles of Chartered Energy Manager, as Yvonne has said. In Aberdeen and Highlands and Islands, we have the team and experience to lean in and support you should you require any assistance in applications or queries, or just want that initial contact to say how to. We are there to help. Just drop us a line, pick up the phone, and we'll get back to you quite quickly. I want to thank Terry very much for his short presentation, and I'd now like to invite any questions that you have that you want to speak about the application process. And I'll just start off by asking Terry, what sort of time scale do you have? How many application time slots do you have in a calendar year, please, Terry?
So there are 4 application deadlines every year. The next one, if you are looking to apply for professional membership and or registration soon, the next deadline is the 31st of October, end of October. And that's actually the last deadline this year. So it's your last chance, if you like, to be considered and to apply for professional membership and registration. The membership panel who do all the assessments, they meet shortly after the deadline itself. But October the 31st is the next one to aim for.
Thank you for that, Terry. If I can ask just one other question before I open it to the floor. How long does an application process take when someone submits their application? How long are they expected to wait before they are invited to interview, or they know that things are either going to be considered to take forward, or whether they have additional work to do to an application?
So that's a question we often get asked, and it's really difficult to answer or to put a specific time frame on it. And that's because mainly that it depends on the quality of the application itself. It depends on the availability of our volunteers. All our assessors are working on a voluntary basis, and it also depends on the route you're taking to chartership, which I won't go into, but it depends on whether your qualifications are accredited and so forth. But we generally say you're looking at sort of 3 to 6 months from start to finish as a sort of rough guide, but that can vary considerably depending on those factors I just talked about.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? If anyone would like to jump in, if you could please either raise your hand or just give us your name first and then ask your question. I'd appreciate that, please. I'll give a couple of minutes before I feel I have to ask another question.
I think there's a question from Rona, not Rona.
Yep, sorry. Yeah, still James. It's kind of you've kind of answered it of a sort. I was just intrigued that you said about the next application deadline being end of October, and the kind of inference was that's still achievable, from a standing start to actually get a submission in by that date. Is that a correct assumption? You reckon, if you put your kind of heart and soul into it, it would be possible to get an initial application in that sort of time frame? I mean, what we're talking about, 6 weeks?
Yeah, so obviously it depends on you and the available time you have to dedicate to that, to your application. We would never recommend that you rush it to meet the next deadline. But if you've already made a start and you feel you've got plenty of examples to write against all the competencies, and you've got plenty of time, spare time to put that application together, then I don't see why not.
Okay, no, thanks very much for that.
Can I just also add, sorry, on you go, James. I'll come in at the end there.
I was just going to say, if you could kind of decided to abort mission, I guess it's not abortive work. You would be able to just, submit that, that records that you pulled together at the next application deadline, I suppose. Would that be correct?
Yeah, so I'm not sure what the deadlines are next year. They're about to be confirmed, but I think it's around the end of January will be the next one. So that would be the next one that you aim for. If you do submit your application any earlier, then it gives our professional membership team more time to look through it and give you detailed feedback. And if there's anything missing or anything that we feel you need to add more detail to, then we can tell you that well in advance of the deadline itself.
Okay, no, thank you.
Thank you. I was just going to add, James, it's worth speaking to sort of your line management or certainly business partners, because it will be amazing how much they will actually want to help you on this process, on the journey, but actually getting the professional accreditation, because it also looks good for them and it enhances them as employers to take things forward. So you will be supported with something like this.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that follow-up.
Okay, but certainly any help you need, please feel free to get in touch with us and we can help you through each stage of the process if you need. Can we invite some more questions, please?
There's David. David has his hand up. David, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, hi. I just noticed Terry was speaking about that MyPath. Is it the software on the website for logging sort of your kind of progress? And I was wondering, is that something that you can just go on to and sort of build a bank of kind of not so much knowledge on, but sort of like proof of kind of working towards, like you're saying, it kind of guides you in a way. I think I remember using it before to start sort of logging things against that I could use as evidence, sort of.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct, David. You're referring to My Career Path. It's our online CPD tool, and we recommend that you use it. It's completely free to use for EI members, and whether you're ready to apply or not, it's worth using it and starting to map all your CPD activities, all the training you're doing, or your on the job learning, qualifications, whatever it is. Start mapping those already.
Yeah, kind of getting at, if you weren't like wanting to jump in right now, but in the background you can be using that just to sort of log everything, like you're saying, and have like a bank of evidence almost building up there that you can use when ready.
Yeah, and for two good reasons, really. The first is that it's really hard to remember what you've done over the last sort of 5-6 years if you decide to do it all at once. So it's good to record it as you go. But also because My Career Path structured against the competencies that we're looking for, you're actually logging specific evidence that you can use in your application later on.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose, like for me specifically, I've sort of changed jobs recently, so like I would have quite a backlog of kind of evidence from a previous job position. What is the evidence kind of, based, just speaking there about obviously mentors and showing like the ability to work to these like structured goals for evidence. How much would I need to, or do you need to produce kind of, have I lost some of that not being in the previous job kind of thing, and can I use that previous job and time as evidence for kind of moving forward still?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think as Zubin answered a sort of similar or a connected question, if it's relevant, but you did it in a past job or many years ago, you can still include it either in your CPD record or your PDR and Competence Grid, or both if it is relevant. That's no problem. As a rule, we say for your CPD record, we say to go back to maybe 3 years and pick the most relevant CPD activities that you've done. But if you've done something that is relevant, you know, a long time ago, you can still use that, and it will still help your application, and the assessors will certainly consider it.
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
Thank you very much there. Do we have any additional questions for Terry now, please?
You're muted, Yvonne. We can't hear you.
Sorry. Thank you, everyone, for attending this event. Thank you, Zubin. Thank you, Terry, for your excellent presentations. I know you've provided a lot of answers to the participants. You know, you guys can always come back to us for any questions or for any help. We're there to support you. The recordings for this event will be available, and the slides will be available in a couple of days' time. If you want to discuss membership or presenting at an event or anything connected with EI, you can always email aberdeenmea@energyinst.org. Keep an eye on the branch page because we keep updating it with upcoming events, and we will be notifying you on email if we have anything of interest. And see you all next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.